Focusing on Christian Pulisic and his future, obviously there's been a lot of talk about in this summer, guys, leaving Chelsea potentially. Is he surplus to requirements with the likes of Raheem Sterling being signed, who we think is going to play in exactly the same position as him? Some really interesting updates from Pulisic himself. We haven't heard from him all summer. We've seen lots of reports in the tabloids and elsewhere that Juventus have been interested, other teams have been inquiring, and Chelsea may look to move him on. But Pulisic's basically saying, you know what, I'm fine here. I'm happy with competing with Raheem Sterling and others for my position. That's always been the same at Chelsea. That's what happens when you're at a big club like this. What do you think about that kind of statement, Nick? Do you like that from Pulisic, or is there a danger here that the USA star player ahead of the World Cup, maybe having a very small role at Chelsea? Yes, it's a big club, but he may be a bit rusty going into the World Cup in Qatar. You worried about that, or are you happy that he's ready to throw down the gauntlet to the other Chelsea players and say, you know what, I'm going to battle you for a starting spot in the Premier League and the Champions League?
Geez, that's a loaded question. I'll tell you why, because the ramifications here are, look, he's going to be fine for the U.S., and I hate to say it this way, but I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to get a potentially, in the worst case scenario here, rested and ornery and healthy Christian Pulisic, who's going to then go play against England, and at a World Cup. I'm kind of okay with the worst case scenario here. What if we said, I believe it was Joe coined it the first time, angry Pulisic is the good Pulisic. This guy looks like he's ready to chew off somebody's arm or something. Like, he's very, very angry. And I think it's more likely that he looks at Chelsea's schedule in a World Cup year, this unorthodox World Cup calendar, knows there are going to be games. He's going to play enough. He also knows, because he's not, look, borrow a word from Jay-Z, I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman. This is a life and career affirming winter for him in the United States of America. He is going every World Cup moving forward in the United States, especially with a US one about to be hosted, is going to be the most adored and watched and scrutinized World Cup for US soccer as a program. And so I think this guy looks at himself and has looked at himself as someone who can be transformational in the way that, forget Clint Dempsey or Landon Donovan, but how Mia Hamm was, how taking a program to the forefront. And I don't really see a situation outside of injury in which this guy isn't either a buzzing as a Chelsea player and in his best form, or angry and taking it to the next level. So I know I kind of went on for a while there, guys, but do you understand what I'm getting at?
I do. And he mentioned it as well in his interview with Herc Gomez from ESPN, which was really good. And he basically talked about that mantle of wanting to grow the game in the US and be the guy that puts the team on his back and make popularity grow for the sport in the States, but through his performances for the US national team, and how important that is to him to be the leader, to play well for the US, and for that team to do something at this World Cup this winter. So with that in mind, Andy, I'm just thinking, like Nick said, there's a good point. He could be rested, could be angry, upset, and angry Pulisic is a good Pulisic in my book. But does he need to go somewhere and be the main man? We've talked about that a lot, right? If an Everton comes in late in the window and makes a loan offer for him and says, you're going to play week in, week out under Frank Lampard, who, by the way, has been talking very positively about Pulisic this summer on Everton's tour of the US.
Took him long enough.
Yeah, so, but he did play well. He probably had his best spell of his Chelsea career under Lampard during Project Restart. So I'm torn with this. I'm literally flip of a coin. It seems like maybe Pulisic's flip of a coin, maybe even Chelsea are, about whether he should stay or should he go. So that famous Clash song, should he stay or should he go, Andy?
Yeah, final answer for me on Pulisic. I think for the summer transfer window, he needs to stay where he is. And the more I've thought about it, the pressure situation at Chelsea, I like the pressure to win a place, to compete against Raheem Sterling. I think will be good for him. I think also the opportunity to not have to play every single game. We might almost, as Nick said, we might almost see that as a blessing in disguise come World Cup time, and not just from a national team perspective, but I think probably from all players' perspectives. I think there's going to be so many games and there are going to be so many minutes on those legs that some guys are not going to be feeling so great going to the World Cup. So that could be an okay situation for him, unless a big giant club comes to him and says, we want to build it around you. He's got to stay where he is because he's already comfortable there. He's already acclimated. when you said 4 months, Joe, it blew my mind. 4 months. If you're talking about moving club, moving house, moving your life, uprooting everything that you've had for the last 2 or 3 years, trying to find a new situation. Oh, and by the way, on top of that, immediately play the very best football that you can. That's not realistic. That's not happening. And so if he didn't get a move last summer or in January, it probably wasn't as likely to happen this summer as some of the reports and rumors led people to believe, because it doesn't sound like there was ever an offer. It doesn't sound like there was ever much discussion with anyone, with any other clubs or between Pulisic and Chelsea. It almost sounds like it was a moot point from the start. And, it's gotten some content out of it and everything. But I think at this point, Pulisic at Chelsea this season is the best spot for him and the national team.
I think that's great to say right now, Andy, but let's reassess this situation after, a couple of weeks in August. When we get towards the end of August, the end of the transfer window. If he's not playing at all, because look at the players he has to get ahead of now. Sterling, Mount, Ziyech, Werner, Hudson-Odoi, if he's fit and healthy. I still think he's probably a starter, on, if not the next man off the bench in that situation. But I feel there's going to be a lot of uproar amongst the US fans if Pulisic isn't playing. But like you said, he's got to know the best for his future, and there's got to be a spot for him to go. And I don't think there's a Barcelona or a Juventus or a Bayern Munich that really wants to make him the man and promise him regular football. So that's the only issue I have right now. So
I'll be very short to wrap this up. If he can't get enough minutes to benefit himself in the national team between now and the World Cup against that competition, as good as they are, no slight against them, and this is also no slight against him, then he's not the player that we hoped that he would be. That is the type of player that we hoped he would be. And so that's who he needs to be competing with, beating out 4 minutes and outperforming on the field. It's simply, at the end of the day, we can have all these conversations. What he does on the field is what's going to matter. And so if he cannot beat that competition out to get minutes, then he's probably not a Chelsea caliber player. He's not a top club in the world caliber player. I think it's about that simple.
And he's still very young, of course. That's the thing we have to remember here. He's maturing a lot as well and grown up a lot, as he's spoken about. But for the last point for me on this, Thomas Tuchel was there to stay at Chelsea. And for whatever reason, it seems like he just has this idea that Pulisic is a substitute and an impact player. He's told me that himself when I asked and said, maybe I've been a bit too harsh on him because that's just how I saw him. Maybe when he was his coach at Dortmund growing up, he's this young up-and-coming kid. And there needs to be more trust, I think, from Thomas Tuchel that Pulisic can perform, because he's done it on the big stage in a Champions League run, scored big goals. He just needs to add that clinical nature to his game. But he is young, and this is a big few months, I think, for him, not just ahead of the World Cup, but for his Chelsea and sort of Premier League future at the top level of European soccer. But gents, we'll keep everyone updated, right, with all the latest USMNT transfer news, all the news heading up towards the World Cup. We've got lots of special shows planned for you here on Pro Soccer Talk. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to keep us very busy over the next few months, because there's a lot of movement with those US players, which we have been focusing on specifically for many, many years. So, gents, all left for me to say is thanks so much for joining me for PST this week. Thanks, everyone, for watching, and we'll speak to you all very soon indeed. Cheers, guys.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch highlights all season long, and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend at 7 a.m. Eastern. And for even more content, head over to Peacock, where we've got live games, original series, and a dedicated round-the-clock Premier League channel featuring studio shows, classic matches, and much more.